Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial on how to track your focus time in Notion using a deep work tracker. In this video, I will guide you through setting up a system to log in your deep work sessions, such as the one that you're seeing here, or you can just press a button to start your deep work session, and you can also press another button to basically end it. Now, let's use Notion to create our tracker. And what I want you to do is I want you to create a new page, okay? So I want you to go to private. You can also go to team spaces in case that you're doing this for team. But yeah, just go to private and just click on add a page. And I'm just gonna name this deep work tracker. And now the most important thing that we have to do is we have to create a database, okay? And how we're gonna do this is by actually going or typing slash here, and we're gonna type database, and we're gonna click on this first option, which is database inline. And this is gonna give us like a table that we can add a bunch of properties to. Now here, I just want to click on new empty database, and let's name this table, I don't know, deep work sessions. Okay, this is going to be the name of our database here. Now, what we have to do is we have to add a bunch of properties that are going to basically help us in keeping track of our deep work sessions. So, for example, this first property, this first column, which is name, we're just going to keep it to default, okay, and this is going to serve as our session title. Now, if we want to add another property, we have to click on this plus icon here, and let's actually do that. We're going to click here, and we're going to add, in this case, a date property, which is going to serve as our start time. Okay, so let's actually rename this to start time. And on type, I just want to keep those default. So it's going to be basically date, full date. And actually, I like to keep it to 24 hour instead of 12 hours. Okay, once you're ready, just close it. And now we're going to add another date property, which is going to be our end time. Okay, so let's click on date again. But in this case, it's going to be end time. Let's make it 24 hour again. And that's it. Now let's add some more properties, okay? The next one is actually going to be duration. And that's going to basically be the subtraction of this time and this time here, similar to how it works in Excel. You're just going to take the value of two different columns and you're going to do mathematical operations with them, okay? So let's add a new property here. And let's actually scroll down to formula. There we go. Let's go to edit formula here. And now in this your formula section, I want you to copy paste this thing here. It says date between, end time, start time, minutes, okay? Keep in mind the quotes here, and you have to close parentheses, okay? And when you're ready, just click on save here, okay? Just copy paste this literal text, okay? Do not mind these icons. These icons are just gonna appear later, okay? Just copy paste this sentence. All right, and now you can show it as a number, as a bar, or as a ring. I recommend that you show it just as a number. It's maybe less visual, but it's more objective, you know? So yeah, and just keep the decimal place to default, you know, all to default basically. We're just gonna edit the name and we're gonna name it duration. And now we have one more property here. Now, the next one that we have to add, the next property that we have to add is gonna be called task. And it's gonna allow us to categorize our, task, our deep work sessions, okay? So let's click on plus here and we're gonna add select, and I want you to keep this empty, okay? I'm just gonna rename this to task, but I'm gonna keep this empty because we can fill the different options on the go. What I mean by this is that if I, for example, do, if in my work I do a bunch of tasks that are always the same, what I can do is the first time that I actually do them, I can, for example, type here, I don't know, let's say that I'm doing coding. I can just type in coding here and it's gonna create coding category, okay? And that's gonna be saved for later, okay? So if I, for example, do another task that is also coding, I can, just search it here, okay? And now finally, we're gonna add a final property, which is gonna be called notes, okay? And for that, I need you to focus on your text properties. This is the type, okay? It's gonna be text, and I'm gonna rename it to notes, and this is gonna help us to reflect on the deep work session that we actually did. Now, let's talk about buttons here. This is gonna have any use whatsoever if every time we did a task, we would have to put the time manually or the end time manually and the duration and all of that, okay? It'd be very cumbersome, very tedious. So we are actually gonna create buttons that are gonna help us to initiate this task automatically and to end it. We are gonna create a couple of buttons, okay? The first one is gonna be called, start. Let's actually, slash here. Let's click on button. And now let's name this start deep work session. Let's put an emoji also, like a clock, for example. And then when this button is clicked, we have to create a certain trigger, which is going to be named, in this case, add page to. And we are going to select our database, which I name it, in this case, deep work session, is this one here. And what this is going to do is that the property that is called start time, which is this one here, is going to be set to the time trigger, to the time in which we actually trigger this button here. Okay, so you have to do this, okay? Start time, time trigger. Now, we're also going to edit an additional property, which is going to be the status, like the... I actually realized that I forgot to add one important property, in my opinion. It's optional, but I'm going to add it just for the purpose of this video, just to make it look like the other one. Okay, which is called status. Okay, so let's actually add one more here, and then we're gonna go to status, and we're just gonna keep this default, and we're gonna keep even the name default. This is just to show you. Okay, this is gonna basically allow us to set the task to either not started, in progress, or done. Okay, now let's go back to our button here. As I was saying, you have to add a page to your deep work sessions, which is the table, the database. The start time, you gotta set it to time trigger, and also now that we have created it, let's set our status property to ongoing. Okay, so when we click on this button, this is what's going to happen. Okay, and let's click on done. Now let's also do the same, but for end deep work session. Okay, so let's create an additional button here. Last button, we're going to name this end deep work session. Let's add an emoji like a sleep, for example. And now instead of actually adding a new page, we're going to edit a page in our database. Okay, so let's select our database. And now this is very important actually. We only want to focus on the ongoing tasks. Okay, so we're going to add a filter, which is this, you know, little line here that says edit all pages, but not all pages. It's actually going to be a filter. We're going to filter by status, and it has to be in progress. Okay, so this is our filter. This is only going to modify pages that have this specific filter. And now we're going to edit the property, and we're going to set the end time to the time that we triggered this button. And we're also going to edit the status property to actually done. Okay, and now we can just click on done here. So let's, for example, go to start deep work session, and it's going to start session right now. This line here, we can edit the name, so we can just name it, I don't know, coding for company. Okay, whatever. And now let's do the task coding, and let's add a note, just learning how to code. And now after we have finished this task, we can click on end deep work session, and look what's going to happen. This is going to be added automatically, and we're going to have this duration set to 1 minute. Okay, and this is going to be set to done. So this is pretty useful for me, and I hope you can use it. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, guys.